Howdy and welcome to the Mighty Mighty Chuck channel. I's a Chuck. I got a ripped shirt on, baby. That means I'm ripped, baby. I'm ripped. Okay, back on the subject that the world we live in is a type of computer system. Now, when I say that, I'm not like these people who are trying to say it's a computer and therefore it's a virtual world. No, the world we live in is real, but its design is similar to a computer type system. That doesn't mean it's virtual, it's real. And why do I say that we live in a world that is designed similar to a computer type system? Okay, if you live in the city, you may not notice this. But if you live in the country, one thing you may notice when you live in an area where the population is very sparse, you will notice the number of times that you come to a four-way stop where there's stop signs. The population isn't even as such that these areas have red lights. It's just stop signs. But you notice the number of times that when you come to a stop sign, there will be 1, 2, sometimes 3 cars that comes to that four-way stop at the exact same time. Okay, and once you take your turns and you go on, you can look back and you'll see there's not another car in sight. That four-way stop is now empty. But something brings us 4 cars to that four-way stop at the same time. Now, there may be people in your life that you've known, but they're not extremely close to you, but still you've known them. And maybe you've gone a period without seeing them. You just don't travel the same beaten path. But for some reason, somehow, you will end up at the exact same place as that person at the exact same time. How many times has that happened to you? Now, in that case, you might be more likely to notice it if you live in a city area than in a country area because, there's fewer places to go. But even if you live in a city area where there's a large population, there will be certain people that you will bump into at certain periods in your life. Why? What are the odds? What are the odds that you would actually bump into that certain person at certain times in your life? And it's not like you ordinarily travel in the same circles. I'm not talking about that like where you hang. Say you've got common friends and what have you. I'm talking like, say you end up, say you're at the ER, for example, and there will be somebody from your past at that ER the exact same time as you. Or maybe you go to a car lot. And this happened to me once or twice or 3 or 4 or 5 times. I don't go to a car lot that often. But there will be somebody at that car lot that I know. Not closely. I don't closely know them. Maybe we've drifted apart through the years or what have you. But I will run into them there. It's not like, I'm not talking about like, say there's a community bar where a group of people just go ordinarily. You go to a bar or a church or what have you. You expect to bump into people, because they go to that church, you go to that church. You go to that bar, they go to that bar. I'm not talking about that type of situation. I'm talking about where you're going to a fairly different place, a strange place that you don't frequent that often, and yet you will bump into people that you have known in your life. That's odd. And then there is the coincidence of names. This may not be as noticeable to some people as other people. It may happen to more to some people than other people. I'm really not totally sure how common this is, but there is what I call a coincidence of names. For example, at a point in my life, I lived next to someone who had a certain last name. I don't want to go into what these names are. I don't want to go into that much detail on it. But then later on in my life, someone else moved next door to me, and they had the same name. And oddly enough, then down the street, there's a woman who has the same name as the person that lived next to me as where they were a couple. Only in the past, the woman was the male and the male was the female. It reversed. I have a relative whose son-in-law has the first name of someone she dated, and has the last name of, I guess, probably was the first person she ever was. She went to a prom with them. I wouldn't call it dating, but she went to a prom with them. It's hard to explain the coincidence of names, but if you pay attention to it, you will bump into people who have the same name as someone else you've known. You say, well, lots of people have the same name. That's not a big deal. I'm talking about first name and last name. I'm talking about the same name. And there again, I'm not talking about John Smith, I mean, the names may be fairly common. Obviously, they're somewhat common. But it's still odd. It's a coincidence of names. You will meet people who have the same name as someone else you've known. Now, does a synchronicity that seems to exist with these different examples, does it prove that this world is computer-like? No, not really. But it points to it. That synchronicity, that order, that weirdness, that coincidence, it points to that this world has qualities that are computer-like. And again, I'm not talking about because it's computer-like that it means that this is a virtual world. Now, I believe this world is real. I just believe that the foundation of this world, that God has qualities similar to a computer type system. An all-knowing God, well, computer-like. Can hear everyone's prayers? That's kind of computer-like. Can actually alter the computer code based on those prayers? That's kind of computer-like. So, much thanks for listening, watching, listening, watching, listening. I appreciate it. Much thanks.